What is going on, guys? My name is ArcanineShine, and today we have a very different video. This is not my regular average Emerald Let's Play or Pokemon Showdown videos. This is a creepypasta that I have wrote myself, and do not depict this in any way real. It does have some real aspects in it that I have depicted from my real life experiences into it, but this is no intention of trying to be real. This is all for fun, and if you like this stuff, I might do another one. It just depends on the feedback I get. But other than that, let's get started. Alright, so this is Pokemon FireBled. I remember getting that game for my birthday years ago. I'm 16 now, and I still can't shake the feeling that game left in my mind. The agony I went through playing that horrific game. It may be a game, but I consider it a game of torture. The game I got the game is imprinted in my mind as well. I unboxed the gift, pulling out a version of Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, along with a Game Boy adapter. As a kid, I didn't realize that I needed two adapters to trade and battle my friends, which my mom explained to me later. I didn't really care because it wasn't my money that was spent. I was eager to play the games because I had such a great experience with Pokemon Sapphire and Emerald. I had over 300 hours on my Pokemon Emerald version. I quickly ran to my closet to grab my silver Game Boy SP. After moving a few things around, I find my Game Boy inside my lime green carrying case along with my other Game Boy Advance and Color games. I take the SP and close the door. I heard something fall to the floor inside the closet after I closed the door. That happened all the time, so I didn't mind, thinking I'd clean it up later. I ran back into the living room, quickly grabbing the games. I debated which one to play first. I chose Fire Red because the box art of Charizard was way cooler than the art of Venusaur. I undo the flaps on the box labeled Fire Red and find the obvious and useless controls pamphlet in the amber red game cartridge. I sit there marveling at the sticker label. I put the game in the Game Boy, and the tone with the rainbow letters fall onto the screen make the iconic gling sound. The screen turns black to reveal the Shooting Star and Game Freak logo. As always with any new game, I watch the full opening. The classic Nidorino and Gengar fight plays and ends when Nidorino freezes in midair attacking the Gengar. The start menu blinks onto the screen with the grayscale Charizard to the right of the press start text. I hit A to start up the game. The Charizard cry plays and flashes to the new game options. The game starts up fine with Pikachu and the paper introduction as well as the Professor Oak introduction. I entered my gender and name as well as my rivals. I named my rival Gary because that's who he was. The game went on as normal from there. I chose Charmander as my starter, not nicknaming it. I kept playing for hours, catching different Pokemon. I've been playing for a while now, and my mom was worried about my eyesight. I snapped back saying, "I'm fine!" I kept playing, not worrying about my own health. After another few hours, I took a break and filled up a glass of water. Soon after, I washed my face in the bathroom to wake myself up a bit. Looking into the mirror and noticing that my eyes are completely red and bloodshot. It kind of made me sick to my stomach, they were so red. I realized that it was now time to stop. I save my game in Saffron City, switch off the Game Boy, and go to sleep for the night. It was a sleepless night because I could not stop thinking about my Pokemon in the game. Despite being exhausted, I began to start up the game again the next morning. Except that Charizard's cry when pressing start was altered. It was drowned out in an extremely low pitch. I thought to myself that my battery was low because I forgot to charge the Game Boy that night before. I plugged the charger in and started playing as normal while charging the system. When I selected continue, the usual ding sound didn't play. Instead, the sound that indicates that you walk into a wall plays. I still kept thinking that it was because of the battery levels. The grayscale cutscenes play saying what I was doing last, which was pretty normal. It showed myself leaving the Sylph building, making my way to Lavender Town. I enjoyed Lavender Town. Not really sure why. I think it was because of all the mysteries it contained. I continue with my journey entering Pokemon Tower to save Mr. Fuji. When I get to the floor that houses the Cubone's mother, I started to get excited. I had climbed the tower before getting the Sylph Scope and saw the Ghost Sprite. I knew it was special because it was different from all the other Ghost Pokemon in the tower. The Sprite ran me off, and then I got really intrigued. I made my way to the stairs where the ghost appeared and the text rolled telling me to leave. The battle started and the ghost appears. I send out my leading Pokemon. The Ghost Sprite morphs into Marowak. I remember that this is supposed to be the ghost of the Cubone's mother that Team Rocket had killed. Then why was the gender a male? When I played the game, I only caught and used male Pokemon for some odd reason. Since the gender was male and pretty high leveled, I really wanted this Pokemon. I knocked its HP down to red after a few turns. I go to my bag and select a Pokeball. The Pokeball flies across the screen and engulfs the Marowak. The ball wiggles and snaps with stars flying out of it. Gotcha, Marowak was caught, the text said. I didn't nickname this one either, and it was sent to my PC. The screen fades back to the game and flashes with displayed text saying, "The ghost disappeared." I knew it didn't because it was in my PC at the Pokemon Center. I didn't really care and went on completing the mission. I returned to the PC after I saved Mr. Fuji to take out my new ghost Marowak. I replaced my Sandslash with Marowak, thinking this one is much better because it's a ghost. I select the summarize option, watching my Marowak jump on screen. Its nature was lonely, with very high stats, displaying itself as a very powerful Pokemon. The location where I caught it said Pokemon Tower, which I confirmed was correct. I continue on with my adventure, blazing through the game. I eventually made it to the Pokemon League. A player stops while Gary approaches me. As usual text goes, with Gary bragging on about something, the battle starts. Gary sends out his Pokemon while I send out mine. I was not prepared for the battle at all because my Pokemon were about 5 levels weaker than his, except for my Marowak, which was 4 levels higher. All my Pokemon were obliterated while he had 3 Pokemon left. I sent out Marowak, hoping to deal some serious damage. I go for an Earthquake, but Gary switched into his Blastoise. I thought, how could he do that? Because I never saw any trainer switch Pokemon in battle during the game before. The Earthquake did barely any damage to the Blastoise. The next turn, the Blastoise hit Marowak with a Hydro Pump and knocked Marowak down to red health. The beeping red HP noise started and began to annoy me. The Marowak responds with a Brick Break, dealing about half of Blastoise's HP. Even though it was a powerful attack, it wasn't enough. The text was different when I chose another Brick Break. The text rolled saying, Marowak braced itself. I thought to myself, what does that even mean? Then the Blastoise hits Marowak with another attack and knocks it out. I lost. My Pokemon were healed at the center and I decided to battle Gary again. Except this battle had the same outcome. Marowak braced itself. Marowak fainted. I began to get irritated. After healing again, I faced Gary one more time. The same outcome. In a rage, I saved the game at the Pokemon Center and shut off the system. I didn't play FireBled for the rest of the day. The next day was Monday, meaning school was starting back up. The school routine started and I eventually forgot about my FireBled and Leaf Green. Years passed. It was a year ago when I found the game again when rummaging through my closet. I thought out of nostalgic purposes that I'll play it again. I booted up the Game Boy with FireRed in it. The Game Boy text fluttered onto the screen. I pressed A to skip the opening and to start up FireRed. I barely remember the game since it had been several years since I touched the game. The grayscale start menu was different from how I remembered it. Instead of a grayscale Charizard in orange and red background, it was dark with an eerie dark red color. I thought this was a lighting bug or something, so I ignored it. I pressed A, waiting to hear the Charizard cry. I heard the cry. This was the cry Charizard made when it fainted. When the cry finished, instead of the start menu fading and flashing, it immediately turned black. A few seconds went by. Slowly, a loud screeching sound emitted from the Game Boy, which made me jump and cover my ears. I tried to turn down the sound, but it wouldn't work. The sound was agonizing. It was so high-pitched it made my ears ring. The sound finally stopped abruptly, and the screen flashed showing my character facing Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town, instead of asking me if I wanted to continue or create a new game. It skipped that menu completely. I remember why I had stopped playing, because I had lost to Gary too many times, but I didn't save the game in Lavender Town. The eerie music started like always. I didn't mind it though, I loved Lavender Town. I noticed that the town was dark and pitch black with no NPCs around. Overlooking it, I checked my party and saw that I only had 2 Pokemon, Charizard and Marowak. I swore I had all 6. My Charizard was extremely weak with 5 HP and poisoned. My Marowak was fine with full HP. I figured I'd fly out of Lavender Town to Vermilion City so I could take on Gary again after I got the rest of my Pokemon and healed them up. When I commanded Charizard to fly, it said, Charizard can't fly. I thought this was completely ridiculous because my Charizard obviously knew fly as a move. I knew I'd never used potions as a kid, so I checked the bag to see if I had any items stored up to heal my injured Charizard. I found only one item, which was very unusual. It was 1 full restore. When I selected it, my heart sank. The only option was to toss it. I couldn't press B to exit and I couldn't use it, so I selected toss. The next set of text sent a shiver down my spine. Charizard let out a moan. I hit B to exit the bag. It worked. I summarized my Charizard. The sprite made me jump back in horror. My Charizard had black red eyes with blood running down from his eyes. Its body had splotches of blood all over it like it was beat with a club. Its wings were no longer wings. Well, wings with flesh. The wings were completely skeletal, which explained why Charizard couldn't fly. I got my bearings and scrolled to my Marowak. Its nature was different from what I remembered. This time its nature was serious. The one thing that stood out to me was that Marowak wasn't ground type anymore. It was ghost. Since I was older, I knew that there was no way Marowak could be a ghost type. Then I remembered I couldn't catch the ghost Marowak either because I watched numerous videos on the internet. That was the worst part. When I checked its moves, all it knew was toxic. Did my Marowak try to kill my Charizard? I exited the menu and returned to the game. The Lavender Town music stopped. I thought the game may have froze, but my character was still mobile. I tried to navigate my player towards the Pokemon Center, but a text box appeared. The text box said, no. The only direction I could move was forward, into Pokemon Tower. I went in, but the screen was black, and I heard the sound when you enter a building several times. The screen kept flashing from white to gray, getting darker gradually. Finally, the screen flashed on with my player standing on top of Pokemon Tower with fog rolling through. I took one step forward. Another text box appeared saying, Charizard bled out. Charizard died. The statement shocked me, thinking, what the fuck is going on? When I hit A to make the text box disappear, my character took another step forward closer to the edge of the tower. I quickly pressed the start button, fearing that he'd take another step and risk falling off. I summarized my two Pokemon and saw two Pokemon. My Charizard's Pokeball was still there. When I selected it, the text when you try to ride your bike indoors appeared, saying I can't use that right now. Then Marowak jumped into Charizard's place. I summarized Marowak again. Its nature had changed again, this time from serious to satisfied. Satisfied? I asked out loud. The menu disappeared, revealing my character closer to the edge. Marowak appeared behind my sprite. A text box appeared saying, yes. Marowak pushes my sprite off the tower. When it hits the ground, the screen becomes disordered with pixels in a strange order. The screeching sound blares out of the speakers again while I jump back in terror. Marowak's cry is launched out of the speakers in a high-pitched tone, altering it in sound. The cry played over and over without stopping, making it sound like a high-pitched laugh and grumble. After a few seconds, the Game Boy shuts off. I'm terrified at this point. I'm shaking to the point where I can't even stand. I ran into the bathroom, leaving my Game Boy sprawled on the floor. I washed my face with some water and looked into the mirror, saw my eyes bleeding, leaving streams of blood down my face. Alright guys, well, that is my own creepypasta that I wrote. This is Pokemon FireBled. If you guys liked it, go ahead and click that like button and subscribe for more. I just need to make sure if I get some pretty good feedback if you guys want to see more. I know this was very different from my regular videos, but I got encouraged after seeing several creepypastas from some ordinary gamers on YouTube. Now that is some pretty good creepypasta stuff, even though they just read it. But I wrote this one by myself, and I think I did a pretty good job on it. But I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. So I'll leave you with that. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys later.